All right, so question?
Sorry. So when you are like when you stage houses, that's a specific service outside of.
So the question is, when you stage houses or you help them stage a house, yes, that would be a specific service that you may render.
So you could outsource that to somebody else.
You could outsource that, and there are plenty of companies out there that specialize in doing that. But that may be a service that you say, well, I don't do. I don't come in and do that. But I'm not charging you 7% like Raymond does. We're going to charge you 5.5%, but we don't help you stage your property. That's not in the minimum level. We're not going to hold an open house for you. I'm not going to do that. Okay, I don't need anybody. I'll do that on my own and save money by paying you this. One of the companies was like, you paid $1,000 to list, which is way cheaper than, like that example, $7,500. But like I said, they didn't do X, they didn't do Y, they just had to do these things. We'll accept the offer for you, and we'll call you and let you know. We'll help you negotiate your counteroffer, and we're always here for questioning. Other than that, we're not staging, we're not helping you open houses, we're not going to put a sign in the yard. For a sign, it's an extra $100. You want us to market it on Facebook, it's an extra $50. They can do things like that. Now, we talked about being a business, and my business is like Walmart's business. So let's talk about some of the laws that businesses abide by. Most notably, the big one is what they call the Sherman antitrust laws, or antitrust laws. Now, before we get started, the thing we have to talk about are two different words I want to talk about on the board. And these words sound very similar, but are very different. We have the word inter, I-N-T-E-R, versus the word intra, I-N-T-R-A. Inter means between, like interstate is a road between states, all right? Intercom is a communication between two comm devices. Intra means inside of, like a company's intranet would be a network of computers only in the company, right? Because when we get to the antitrust laws, what I'm telling you is inter-company is a violation. Between companies is a violation. Intra-company, inside of my company, these are not violations. Let me give you an example, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The first one's called price fixing. Price fixing is where people get together. Well, if I called Jim Talheim and Paul Caldwell and Andy Dittmeyer and Chris Hilligoss and all these other guys that are managing brokers, and we all got together and said, you know, if we all charge 10%, we can create a false market where we make more money, as long as everybody sticks to it. That's a violation. That's called price fixing. You can't do that. It has to be open market. But in my company, I tell all of my agents at the Modulin Group, we only list for 13%. If you don't like my business model, go somewhere else. That's legal because it's my company. It's inside of my borders. It's intra-company. It's inter-company. That's a violation. You guys remember back several years ago where IMI got caught with all that ready concrete, where they all were meeting in a horse barn in Anderson? All the instant concrete companies got caught. That's exactly what they were doing. They were meeting secretly in a horse barn in Anderson and got busted because they were all doing that. Well, let's all get together and let's all charge the same price. We can run the value up and make a whole bunch more money.
Concrete companies do that?
Yeah. The Quickcrete companies did it. IMI was one of the big ones. Irving Materials. So we can't do that. I can't call other brokers and go, let's start charging 10%. Now, if I put something out and someone sees that I'm charging 10% and they decide to adopt, that's no, as long as there was no collusion. All right? As long as there's no collusion or I talk to them. If someone says, hey, man, I think Raymond's making 10%, I want to try and make 10%, and they raise theirs up, that's not a violation. It's when we all get together and collude to do it. Same thing, only opposite is group boycotting. Hey, we can run Chicago Title out of business if we all get together and say we're not going to use Chicago Title, nobody use them, and let's all boycott them so we can get rid of them. That would be group boycotting, can't do that. But in my company, I could say, I don't like Security Title or Benchmark Title or any of those because I don't think they service us well. I don't want to use them. That's in my company. I'm sorry? Does the lender choose the title company? No, the buyer chooses the title company.
Is it often the same as their lender? The
What?
title company, is it often the ones?
No. Are they one and the same? No, the lender's a lender. Title company is a closer. I don't know any lenders that also have a title company. That's a lie, but as far as you know, they are not the same, never the same entity. Tucker would come close. They've got a mortgage and they brokerage though, and a title company. I own a mortgage brokerage and a real estate brokerage, but not a title company. Typically, you have enough business and heartaches to worry about with a title company. You don't want to be doing anything else anyway.
So with FC Tucker, if all of their companies combined come together and say, we don't do business with this person, is that a group boycott? Because they're
No.
basically all separate businesses?
No, because those are, first of all, that's one company and they're in three different areas. One's a broker, one's a title company. What I'm talking about is when three real estate brokers get together to try and create a company, create the market by doing that, or run somebody out. We're all in the same industry. Allocation of the customers, once again, we can play this game. I hope you guys see where we're going at. You can't call a guy on the north side and say, if anybody south calls, you give them to me, and if anybody north calls, I'll give them to you, because somebody on the north side may want a south side agent because they're moving down here. But inside of my company, it makes sense if someone calls my sign and says, I want to buy in Greenfield, I will say, let me give you to Raymond. He grew up in Greenfield. So intra-company, I can allocate my customers to whoever I think is going to serve them the best. It's inter-company that you have problems. Allocation of markets is the same concept, meaning you get all the investors, I get all the bank owned, and you get all the new build, and that would be a market as opposed to a geographic location. Can't do that inter-company. Intra-company is okay. Tie-in agreement. A tie-in agreement is when you make someone buy one product before you'll sell them the other product. Black & Decker got caught with this. Black & Decker was making staples that only fit their staple gun. And someone said that's a tie-in agreement because in order to buy that, you have to buy that because it wouldn't fit in the regular staple gun. So they had to change and fit the ANSI standard for staples.
So is that why?
All right. Keurig sucks. You would think that almost would be a tie-in agreement, wouldn't it? I potentially thought I was involved in a antitrust suit, and I contacted an attorney, and he said, it sounds like to me it might be an antitrust suit. He said, the problem is that's a federal suit. He said, so write me $10,000 retainer before we get started, and we'll look at it, and it could be 5 to 10 years, and it may run you $100,000. You still interested? I went, no habla inglés. Prank caller, prank caller. The penalties for this are severe, dude, because it is a federal case. If you're caught price fixing or allocating markets, it could be $1 million fine and 10 years in jail. I could see it now. What are you in for? Murder. What are you in for? Tie-in agreement. Don't make me shank you. Yeah, well, insider trading. Martha Stewart. She went to the country club, though.
So the allocation of customer markets is only applicable if there's,
The allocation of markets is the same thing as the allocation of customers.
right, and it's only actually a thing if you collude with another agent.
All of these are only a thing if you collude with an inter-agent, not an intra-agent. So like in my office, if we get an investor that calls in and said, I'm an investor, I want to buy investment properties, and I say, okay, I'm going to turn you over to Josh. Josh is an investor. He knows all the things. He's got the right contacts for hard money and yada, yada, yada. I'm going to give you to him instead of you. I can do that in my office.
So you can't tell him the same thing about somebody in another office.
I can't call the other office and say, hey, Andy, you're going to take all the investors that we get, and I want you to give me all the new build homes. All right? That's an allocation of markets where you all get together and say, we're going to give him all one, and I'll take all the others. So if you get a call for a new build, you got to send them to me, and I'll deal with them. No, that's a violation. That's an allocation of a market. They may want Raymond to help them with an investment property. We can't dictate that. All right, let's move on.